Human history, exploration, and conflict have taken us to the furthest reaches of our planet. And sometimes, the smallest places have been bargaining chips or even key parts of history. From the tropical to the icy, here are 10 far-off islands claimed by other countries. Number 10. Pitcairn Islands. The Pitcairn Islands are a group of 4 volcanic islands in the southern Pacific Ocean. Officially, Pitcairn, Henderson, Ducie and Oeno Islands, they are the sole British overseas territory in the Pacific. The 4 islands are spread out over hundreds of miles of ocean and only have a combined land area of about 18 square miles, with Henderson Island accounting for 86% of the land area, even though only Pitcairn Island has permanent human inhabitants. The Pitcairn Islands are the smallest national jurisdiction worldwide with regards to population. The islanders are all mostly descended from a handful of Tahitians and 9 mutineers of the British ship the HMS Bounty. A famous mutiny on the Bounty took place on April 28, 1789. Originating from only 4 main families, as of 2014 there were approximately 50 permanent inhabitants of the islands. The only other islands anywhere nearby are Mangareva to the west and Easter Island to the east, both of which are also distant territories of far-off countries. Can you imagine living so far away in such a small population? Mangareva. Mangareva is the largest island of the Gambier Islands, a group of islands in French Polynesia. The island is less than 6 square miles and makes up about 56% of the land area for the Gambier Islands. Its largest village, Rikitia, has a permanent population of 1,239 people as of 2012 census data. A large lagoon, 15 miles in diameter, full of coral reefs and sea life, helped the ancient islanders survive much more successfully than on the surrounding islands, and Rikitia is built on its shores. The first European to arrive at Mangareva was British Captain James Wilson in 1797. He named the islands Gambier in honor of Admiral James Gambier, who had helped him equip his ship for the voyage. Mangareva and the other Gambier Islands were then ruled by many kings and regents until February 21, 1881, the French formally annexed the islands. Easter Island. Easter Island, known locally as Rapa Nui, is an island in the southeastern Pacific, at the southernmost point of the Polynesian Triangle. It is one of the most remote populated islands in the entire world. It's most famous for its moai, popularly known as the Easter Island Heads, which were created by the early Rapa Nui people. There are nearly 1,000 moai on the island. In 1995, Easter Island was named a World Heritage Site by UNESCO, making much of the island protected within Rapa Nui National Park. The Polynesian inhabitants are believed to have arrived on the island around 1200 CE, and the moai are evidence that they were able to create a strong, industrious culture early on. The country of Chile annexed Easter Island in 1888, though it wasn't until 1966 that Rapa Nui people were granted Chilean citizenship. As of 2017, the population of Easter Island was recorded at 7,750, with 3,512, or about 45% of them, considering themselves Rapa Nui. Northern Mariana Islands. Officially known as the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands, this is an insular area and Commonwealth of the United States, consisting of 14 islands in the northwestern Pacific Ocean. They include the 14 northernmost islands of the Mariana Archipelago, excluding Guam, which is a separate U.S. territory. As of the 2010 U.S. Census, 53,883 people were living on these islands, with the majority of the population living on the islands of Saipan, Tinian, and Rota. The remaining islands that make up the Northern Marianas are sparsely inhabited. The Chamorro culture of these islands has been heavily influenced by many other cultures, such as the Spanish during the Spanish era, as well as Germany and Japan. The Chamorro have a large focus on respect, which is reflected in their traditions. These influences have also brought a lot of diversity to the favorite local foods of the area, with dishes such as sweet or savory empanadas originally introduced from Spain, and pancit, a noodle dish from another nearby island chain, the Philippines. Tristan da Cunha. This remote group of volcanic islands in the southern Atlantic Ocean is known as Tristan da Cunha, also known colloquially as Tristan. It is the most remote inhabited archipelago in the world, approximately 1,511 miles off the coast of Cape Town in South Africa, and 2,166 miles off the coast of the Falkland Islands. The first permanent settler of Tristan da Cunha was Jonathan Lambert of Salem, Massachusetts in the United States, who moved to the island in December of 1860 1810 with 2 other men. Later joined by another, Lambert publicly declared the islands his property and named them the Islands of Refreshment. However, this didn't last, as by 1812, only one of them remained. In 1816, the United Kingdom annexed the islands, making them a dependency of the Cape Colony in South Africa. The main island of Tristan da Cunha is now inhabited by about 250 permanent residents, and has a diameter of roughly 6.8 miles and an area of 38 square miles. The other islands include wildlife reserves of the Gow Island and Inaccessible Island, as well as the smaller uninhabited Nightingale Islands. The other islands are uninhabited, except for the personnel of a weather station on Gow Island. The inhabitants of Tristan all carry British Overseas Territories citizenship, since they became classified as such in 1983. Floreana Island. Among all the islands that make up the Galapagos archipelago, you'll find Floreana Island, named after Juan José Flores, the first president of Ecuador, during whose administration the government of Ecuador took possession of the archipelago. The island had previously been called Charles Island, after King Charles II of England, and Santa Maria, after one of the ships that Columbus sailed to the Americas. Formed from a volcanic eruption, the island's highest point is 2,100 feet, the highest point of the inactive volcano Cerro Pajas. The island's largest city, Puerto Velasco Ibarra, has a small population, only numbering about 100 residents. Floreana Island is claimed by France, despite being a part of a Galapagos province of Ecuador. An interesting feature of the island is Post Office Bay, where visitors have the opportunity to send postcards home without a stamp, using the over 200-year-old post barrel. Guam. The most distant U.S. territory is the island of Guam, located in Micronesia in the western Pacific Ocean. The capital city is Hagatnya, and as of 2016, there were 162,742 people residing on Guam, and its most populous city is Dededo. Being that it is the westernmost point of the United States, a territorial motto they have is, "Where America's Day Begins," referring to the island's proximity to the international dateline. The Chamorros, who are the indigenous people, settled the island approximately 4,000 years ago, and it was Portuguese explorer Ferdinand Magellan on a Spanish expedition who was the first European to visit the island in 1521. Guam was colonized by Spain in 1668 and was a Spanish colony under the Treaty of Paris. Spain ceded Guam to the United States on December 10, 1898. Inhabitants of Guam, known as Guamanians, have been American citizens by birth ever since the Guam Organic Act of 1950. The Falkland Islands. The Falkland Islands are an archipelago in the South Atlantic Ocean on the Patagonian Shelf, and they are another example of a British overseas territory, at least officially. The sovereignty of the islands is part of an ongoing dispute between Argentina and the UK, though the majority of Falklanders prefer the archipelago to remain an overseas territory of the United Kingdoms. The Falklands have internal self-governance, but are provided defense and foreign affairs by the United Kingdom. And as recently as 1982, the UK had to step in during a conflict between Argentina and the islands. The main islands are located about 300 miles to the east of South America's southernmost region of Patagonia. The archipelago, which has an area of about 4,700 square miles, comprises East Falkland, West Falkland, as well as 776 smaller islands. The population, which includes 3,398 inhabitants as of 2016, is primarily native-born Falkland Islanders, the majority of which are of British descent. Kokos Keeling Islands. An Australian external territory located in the Indian Ocean, the territory of Kokos Keeling Islands is a small archipelago of tropical islands approximately midway between Australia and Sri Lanka, though the islands are closest to the Indonesian island of Sumatra. The territory's dual name reflects that the islands have historically been known as either, and so Australia has made them both official since the island's incorporation in 1955. The territory is made up of a total of 27 coral islands, though only 2, West Island and Home Island, are inhabited. The population of about 600 consists mainly of Kokos Malays, a name for the specific Malays living on the island. The islands were first discovered in 1609 by William Keeling, but had no settlers until the first Malays are believed to have been brought there as workers by a Scottish merchant known as John Clunies Ross in 1826. It's no wonder they stayed, because these islands are beautiful. Before we get to number 1, if you enjoy our videos, consider liking this video, subscribing to our channel, and leaving us a comment. We'd appreciate hearing from you. And now, number 1, Niue. Niue is a self-governing island country in the South Pacific Ocean, but they are in free association with New Zealand despite being located 1,500 miles northeast. Its population is predominantly Polynesian, and was around 1,600 in 2016. Niueans are citizens of New Zealand, and the country is a bilingual country, with 30% of the population speaking both Niuean and English, and a larger portion only speaking Niuean. Niue is one of the world's largest coral islands, with a land area of more than 100 square miles. The terrain of the island has 2 noticeable levels. The higher level, made up of a limestone cliff, runs along the coast, and the lower level, which is a coastal terrace, which slopes down and meets the sea in small cliffs. A large coral reef surrounds the majority of the island, with the only major break being in the central western coast, next to the capital of Alofi. That makes it an amazing place for some scuba diving.